Well, hello there, YouTube. It's Saturday, April 23rd, 2022, and I've got another video for you. But before we get into that video, I want to do what I always do, and that is to check my TonyLiveTV on YouTube and see if I've gotten any new subscribers. Last time I had 87, and now I've got 93 subscribers. All right, you guys, thanks for helping me out. We're only 7 subscribers away from that magical 100. And then Google will give me my own unique URL or username or whatever that is. You know, it's just so it'll make it easier for other people, you know, to get a hold of me. So, you know, I've been trying to tell people where I'm at, and sometimes they're having trouble getting me. So, all right. So here we are. Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. This video is about the engine block and prepping the engine block. And that includes little things like this. If you'll notice that thing's got stripped holes in it. It's not the head. It is where the transmission bolts onto the back of the engine. So that means the next video is going to be about either inserting a Heli-Coil or a time cert. I think it's going to be a time cert. I already had purchased the Heli-Coil because I already knew that this thing was stripped. It was going to be part of this video. But now that I've been doing this now since November and researching things and learning about things, I think a time cert might be the best way to go. One thing to consider, this is the back, you know, where the engine and transmission go together, so it's those mounting. What I found, well, you'll see in the video, you know, it seems to be a common problem. So that's stripped, and I definitely need to work on this little thing right here. But what I did find out is that on the heads also, of course, have this problem, and people are inserting time certs in there. However, the manual says to use a Heli-Coil. So I think we're going to end up not using a Heli-Coil. We're going to end up using time certs like everybody else is doing. So that's what that's going to be all about. So that's coming up in a future video, either a time cert or a Heli-Coil. Either way, the engine block's got to get ready. This video here shows you I'm chasing all the head bolts and all that, and I know the depth of the head bolts. And the reason why I know the depth of the head bolts is because this document tells me how deep the threads need to be. I think, let's see, what page is this at? That it's like 29, is it? 29 millimeters? As far as the depth of that, so when I chased all those bolt holes for the cylinders, bolts, I made sure that we went in and made sure all those things were perfect. So, let's see. So that'll be the next video. If you like my video, give me a thumbs up. Alright, so here's the deal. Last week I called him and says, hey, you know, it's like Wednesday. I says, hey, you know, where's my head? And so the guy says, oh, you know, I'm really, really sorry, this and that. You know, legitimate type excuses and everything. And he's got like 3 engines that he has to get done. And then I realized before I called him anyways, he told me it's at least a month. It's been 2 months, so, you know, I mean, every time I say, I'll get that done next week, it ends up taking me 3 weeks to get it done. So I can understand, you know, as a programmer, programmers know, right? It takes you 3 times longer than you think, at least, right? Carpenters, yeah, you guys know. It takes you 3 times longer, so I get it. He told me that. So he says, listen, Tony, I'm really sorry. And he says, call me late in the week, next week. And, you know, I'll try to make sure I get this thing done. So that's the goal. And if he does, I already asked him, I'm going to take the cylinder back. We're going to lap the valves and do all the head work, and then we're going to bring it in. He said he would go ahead and pressure test it. So that's a positive sign. So he did find a little problem with the head that he had to fix additional. He had to do it twice because, you know, you get a little bit of something in there, in a flux or anything. When you're welding a head, you're going to have a problem. You got to make sure it's perfectly clean. All right, so remember, we're going to be going live. When I do start this, or try to start it, we're going to assemble all this thing. That's what this is all about, my journey on assembling it. So we'll be assembling this thing, and then I'm going to start it. So I'll be announcing when that all happens. But, you know, you should subscribe now. Click the little bell so you get notified. I'm not going to make a million videos. I won't be bugging you in your timelines and stuff. But, you know, that's it. 1 a week is probably the most I'll ever get done. If I do too, that means something's happening, right? All right. So that's it. Links to any tools and products that I use is tools and products that I actually purchased with my own money. Nobody gave it to me. Nobody sponsors my videos, nothing else. I decided to purchase that product. If I like it, I tell you. If I don't like it, I tell you. So one product I'll tell you I absolutely hate is that wireless microphone. Right now, I've never told you about the wireless microphone, but I've been having some issues with it. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and go through the feed of this microphone and let that take care of it for now. And we'll just deal with that. But I think this sound is probably better in the long time. That thing kept fading out. I kept trying to change the wireless channels. Still the same thing. I didn't have that problem in there. It might be so much metal inside this place here. And I also have, you know, wireless Wi-Fi and all that, so I can control everything. So it's just probably just interference. So, but right now I don't like that microphone. And I can't afford to buy another microphone, guys. I'm sorry, I just can't afford to buy another one. I wish I could, but I asked my wife, she says, no, I think you spent enough. I said, okay. All right, so stick with me, you guys. Thumbs up, you know, let's get to 100 subscribers. We're getting really close. Watch this video. We're getting ready. I promise we'll get it assembled. So thanks again for watching, you guys. Yeah, didn't want to get stuff in there. Good, cut it out. This is the oil pressure sending unit. I think the one that goes to the dashboard. I purchased a new one of these, and that part number is It's a 17 millimeter. So it doesn't really look dirty or anything. In order to take off this entire oil filter housing bracket, I'm going to call it. These are 6 millimeter. But we have to take off this one, this big nut first, which is a 32 millimeter. Oh, that was pretty easy to do. So nothing special, just was on there. Now we can get to these. All right, so is what it is. Both bolts are the same length. I would imagine that is also the same length. I'm going to check that right now. Yes, it is the exact same length. And this is the gasket I have to replace. There, that number 98 is the thing. Of course, I always forget the sealing rings. Why is that? All right, so now I've chased all of these, every single head bolt with this 10 millimeter 1.5, and then also all the 8 1.25 on the front. So now that I've got all that all done, you know, this is about the best I can do on here. We'll look at that in a second. But I need to take this engine off the stand so I can get to the back side of this. Because we got a bunch of bolts in the back. We got obviously where the transmission mounts, and the back cover has a bunch of M8s. So let me go ahead and get ready to do that. But let's go ahead and take a look. So this is the best I can do. I did use a Carbide Scraper, but you know, that's scary. You know, I got like a little scratch right there, right? You can see like I mean, you know, looking at this actually shows more than with the naked eye, but I just want to show you that there's like little bits of carbon discoloration, right? And that's what I'm talking about. It's impossible to really get this clean. Right? I mean, how do you get these surfaces to be perfect? Try to get an angle on it so we can There you go. I don't know why that's like super shiny there. I think it's just because that's maybe not on the outside. But you see how I can't get these off? I'm scared to use a Scotch-Brite or anything. I was a little concerned about that, but the machinist says just a little sealant and it will be just fine. Well, while we still have this block on the engine stand, I thought it'd be nice to go ahead and just check it, make sure that everything's square. Of course, you know, this was not a repair. We're just doing a recondition. Everything was working when we started. But the specs say after you machine it and everything, it's just the same as the head, is 0.08 millimeter. So I'm using a square, and I'm going to start with, this one is 0.038. So I thought we'd just start with that. Let's see where I'm at. So that's all I'm doing, right? Nope. I'm just going to move it a little bit here. Just check these different surfaces. Don't let it swing. You know, if it's swinging like that, it won't work. You got to stop it. Nowhere there. Come right across where these head bolts are. Almost got it to go. Just barely. Of course, that's only 0.03, so let's go ahead and do the other side against this one here on that back side there where the bolts are. That will go crossways. And I've got a bright light behind there. I can also see that if there's going to be anything, it'll be right there. Because it's the only place I can barely see some light. But there's no way I can get anything in there, though, as you can see. All right. So everything seems to be within tolerances. I like looking at it much better with light behind it. You can see everything that way. I have a 10,000 lumen light. So it's super, super powerful. See everything. All right, let's check the other side. Nothing that way. Again, I don't see any light through anything. Yeah, that's great shape. All right, so that part's all great. Before taking the engine out, I thought I'd go ahead and chase the threads that I can see, because if you guys remember right, in an earlier video, I felt like this engine could not hold its own weight, and I had trouble with a thread. Now this one here looks pretty good. As you can see, the threads are all nice and clear and looks great. And another thing that I did here is I measured this. You see that black mark right there? That's 23 millimeter. I know that the bolt depth is 23 millimeter. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's look at this other thread I got here. Unfortunately, that's as far as I can get this one chased right there. I can only get in that far. I could force it, but you'll see why I'm not going to force it. You can see those threads are pretty messed up. According to the manual, you know, I knew that I was going to have to do this, so I had already purchased a Heli-Coil. Right? Okay. But I didn't know there's actually service information on this problem. So there's the document. So this is reconditioning the threaded bores for intermediate flange and transmission mounting. So if you see here, this seems to be a common problem. So they recommend, or they tell you that you need a Heli-Coil. So you need a Heli-Coil tap, and they give you a tap number. You need a Heli-Coil insert, and then the installer. I can't find that insert anywhere, at least that part number. I did do some research and found that appears to be a 20 millimeter Heli-Coil. Okay? And I'll show you how I did the math. But let's continue with this document, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. So down here it says, note, stripped threads for intermediate flange or transmission attachment must be replaced with Heli-Coil threaded inserts. Standard. And then it gives you the item number, again, which I couldn't really find. It says, the length, though, is equivalent to twice the diameter of the bolt, or 11 thread. So let's take a look at that. I'll use my scale here. So twice the diameter. So let's see what that is. I didn't zero that out, so close enough. Okay, 9.9. Okay. I went ahead and I measured 11 threads. And that comes out to about 17. I'd say it's just about 17. Right there. Okay, so I decided I would do a little bit of math. So according to that document, you guys can go look at that document. I've provided a link to everything that I'm doing here. But they say that 11 threads, okay, that came out to 17 millimeter. All right, 2 times the diameter, though, would come out to 19.8 millimeter. And that seems a little bit closer because Heli-Coils don't come in 19.8 or 17 millimeters, but they do come in 20. They come in 15s. Okay, well, that's what comes in the actual kit, is a 15. And you can purchase 20s and 30s and 24s and a couple of different sizes like that, but you're not going to get those other ones. All right, and then further on in the document, you'll drill your hole 27 millimeters. Okay, your tap will go down 25 millimeters. Then it says that your screw-in depth will be 23 millimeter. But it also has a note that it starts at 2 millimeters below the top of the surface. So that would be about 20. Well, if it's a 20 millimeter, that's why I made it a little bit short there, because a Heli-Coil is going to come in 20. So if I recess it from the top, then that means it's really only going in 22. All right, but it's close. So I think that that is what they want. Now, unfortunately, for me, I feel like the better alternative is to use time certs. So I'm going to talk with the machinist. I have this kit. I was planning on doing this. I was going to actually do this right now and just upload this video just on the whole reconditioning of the block, which is, you know, this part of it. I still haven't decided if I'm going to do anything else to the engine block. But as far as this goes, I was just going to go ahead and do that. I purchased it, and then I didn't realize there's an actual document that this is a big thing that seems to be going on, just like everything else with this engine. So if we're going to follow the instructions, we're going to be using Heli-Coil. I feel a time cert is a better alternative, and also the transmission also mounts to the oil pan. The oil pan, when those holes go all the way through, so they're threaded all the way through. How a Heli-Coil would work in holes that go thread all the way through, seems like that coil would just go right on out, right? So where the time cert has a flange that holds it in place and it locks in the actual block. So it's a little bit different technology. I think it's going to be probably better. So I'm going to run that by my machinist, who's been a machinist for over 38 years, 40 years or whatever. When I go to pick up my head, you know, late in next week, sorry about that, guys. I mean, I'm ready to go. I have everything ready to go. Other than this thing, this is just a question that I have to ask. So along with a couple of other questions I have for him as well, just so I'm clear on what I'm supposed to do and the stages that I'm supposed to do. So that's kind of what that's all about. But just so you know, that's what I'm doing right now. We're either going to Heli-Coil next week, or we're going to time cert next week. So something's going to happen, and then that way there the block will be all ready to go, and hopefully the heads will be here. And I'm going to start actually lapping those valves and everything. He told me he will go ahead and run a leak test for me on the heads, so that's a good thing. So wish me luck. You know, I mean, we're behind, so it's going to start getting really hot out here in Arizona, guys. So all right, so until the next video, I'll see you guys then.